Hello and welcome to my first video on the front man. In today's video, we'll be talking about expansionism of America. And I would first really like to talk about Canada. So Canada is the first one I'm going to talk about. So Canada is full of natural resources, especially oils and precious minerals that we need to power our cars, need to power our factories, need to make cars, all this stuff to drive the economy. But as good as it sounds, even though we would become the largest country in the world, and even though we could put nuclear weapons higher up into the Arctic to border Russia more, um, I think it would be also in some ways a bad idea if we fully integrated Canada into the American system. So I think that and the reason for that is that if Canada became a few states, then all of those Canadians would just swarm, not all of them, but a lot of them would just swarm into the South, which is the US, because it's a lot warmer. Since if you look at a demographic map, I'm pretty sure North Dakota is less populous than the Canadian province that's directly above it, just because the Canadians, they can't move any further south. I'm sure they'd like to, which is why I don't think it should be fully integrated. So I think America should make Canada a territory that still has its own visa and citizenship system, so they can't just move into the US easily. So it's just as hard as it used to be, but they could still vote, and they still pay their taxes to us, and they're still officially part of the US, which would still be very beneficial to us. But this is also an ideological battle, since if we annex Canada, the whole liberal wokeness comes to pieces, because the culture of wokeness would just collapse when you annex a country, when you instill a culture of expansionism that just kills wokeness. So will encourage other nations to expand their influence and their boundaries to kill the woke culture of their countries. I think it is perfectly natural for humans to want to have large countries, want to have a culture, want to have an identity. And I think it is wrong for these monsters, these savages, to steal that from us. And then we have Greenland. And I hold a little bit of bias on Greenland, since I do have, I've, I'm only second generation Danish, so I would feel bad. But I think since I am an American, I do consider myself an American, I think it would be nice to have Greenland for the similar purpose of Canada, as having more resources and having a missile base against Russia. And then there's Panama, and Panama is way more important than Greenland, since it has the Panama Canal. And I think if we take the Panama Canal back, um, by any means, I think it would be very beneficial for our influence in the region, because we would control the trade, and then we have the money and we have the infrastructure to develop the Panama Canal, since right now the lakes along the Panama Canal are drying up. So if we added more money to build more infrastructure, to add more water from other lakes to expand the canal, then I think that would be beneficial to the whole world. I think it's more beneficial for us to have the Panama Canal than the Panamanians, because the Panamanians, they can't even afford to maintain their own canal, so we have to do it for them. And lastly, even though it's not on the list for expanding, I'd also still like to talk about Mexico, since we still need to deal with the Mexico question of there's so many migrants and they just can't deal with it because if a third of their territory is controlled by cartels, they can't even maintain it themselves. It's ridiculous, and I think that someday if they can't control their own territory, we're gonna have to do it for them. And that obviously does not mean that America should go and invade Canada, Greenland, Mexico, and Panama to liberate them from themselves. I just think that um, it's a problem that these countries just can't handle their own affairs and need a country like the US to do it for them. So I think there's peaceful ways of taking control of these areas, and I'm not saying Mexico, but I think I think it is inevitable that we will control at least one of these areas, um, because the world is waking up from wokeness, and the world wants the Western world will want to expand again, and that urge will just keep getting stronger until it just blows over uh, and we're back to where we used to be. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, like oh, it's everyone's suffering again. No, it means that in a good way. Everyone's patriotic again. Everyone wants their see their country get to greatness. And I think it's delusional to think that your country should not be great at all, since I mean that's the whole point of this movement, make America great again. Since we stopped being great, since we stopped being patriotic, we started hating ourselves, we started inviting in all of these immigrants, and it's ridiculous. And I think, as I've said, I think it's inevitable that this ends in the next few decades. Well, thank you for watching my first video on the front man and my quest to fight against the left front. So please like, subscribe, share, of course, just get my channel popular. If you agree with my views, I'm sure a lot of you do. So if you do, like I said, please share and like and subscribe.